Elephants are a national symbol of Thailand, but there aren't many places in the country where you can see them like this.
Right near the dense jungle of the Burmese border, there is a place where you can have a very special experience. Seeing Thailand's most famous animal is right at the top of most tourist itineraries, but it can also be an experience that's hard to get right. In the last decade, there's been a massive shift in the expectations for elephant tourism. It's now much less common to see circus-style performances and much easier to find more ethical camps to visit. But finding a genuinely moral sanctuary can still feel like a minefield of opinions and mixed messages. Some supposedly ethical places still offer bathing and riding with the elephants. A few years back, I visited one of the most popular sanctuaries in the north, and whilst there was no touching or riding, it still involved hundreds of people crowding around them throughout the visit. So that got me wondering, is there a place in Thailand where you can still see these incredible animals in the wild? And my search for that special experience started in the middle of the country, on the shores of one of Thailand's most famous beach resorts.
Hello and welcome back to another day in Thailand, where you join me from the beautiful beach here in Hua Hin. And today we are going to check out two of the very best sites for a day trip. We are going to head out to two different national parks. The first one is actually a marine park that is very well known for a pretty photogenic cave. And then we're going to head inland towards a place where you can go on a genuine elephant safari right here in Thailand. So without any further ado, let's get on the road.
Once again, Emma took on the driving responsibilities for this trip, and we hit the road heading south towards our first stop. And after about 30 kilometers of boring highway views, the scenery finally started to change as we passed beyond the borders of our first national park of the day.
Okay then, after about an hour of driving, we have now made it inside the Khao National Park, which roughly translates as Mountain of 300 Peaks. And looking at the views on the way in, it's easy to see why. Now, there's no fee to get inside the national park itself, but you do have to pay to see some specific attractions inside, and we're going to head towards one of those now.
This park has more than enough sites to warrant its very own day trip. There's traditional villages, canal boat rides, and viewpoints here. But for our condensed itinerary, we opted to see one of its most popular and most photogenic highlights, which led us to park up on yet another quiet shoreline to continue our journey on foot.
And just like that, we are back on the coast. This is how you get around to Phraya Nakhon cave, which is a proper postcard shot of a tourist destination. And there are two ways to get around to the cave. You could take a boat around the coast, or you can climb up this hill. And I think we're going to do the latter and take the boat back. So let's get climbing.
It was 10 baht to park our bike at the entrance and 200 baht national park fee to visit the cave itself. And directly from the visitor centre, we began our journey along the coast.
So it should take about half an hour to climb over to the beach on the other side, and then it's another half an hour to get to the actual cave. Whereas if you take the boat around the coast, that only takes about 5 minutes. So that's the difference between the two. It's a very crumbled path. It's not really steps, it's more just like stones. But we've only been walking for 5 minutes, and check out these views over the beach. It's gorgeous.
These adventures across Thailand encapsulate exactly why I keep coming back to this country over and over again. I've just spent 8 months living and working from this beautiful place, but I've got to be honest, most of my days don't really look like this. When I base myself from cities like Hua Hin, I find that developing a daily routine with regular exercise and a good work schedule are essential for me to be productive. It's not all about sightseeing. And I've also found that taking note of my own personal mental health is also really important, especially when I'm so far from home. So I'm very happy to say that this video is a paid partnership with BetterHelp. BetterHelp can connect you to a credentialed therapist without the need to see them in person. It's completely online. You can click the link down in the description to fill out a questionnaire that assesses your specific needs, and you'll usually get matched with your therapist within 48 hours. You can then book in phone calls, video chats, or even just message if you prefer, whatever's the most comfortable for you. And the app makes it really simple to book sessions on days and times that suit you no matter what time zone you're on. I've got to be honest, in the past, finding the right therapist for me has been a little bit tricky. I've tried quite a few different platforms, so when I finally found somebody that I actually liked and I really got on with, being able to get in contact with her from anywhere in the world has been really valuable. My weekly video sessions have helped me build a routine and keep track of my goals, and BetterHelp makes it really easy to do that. So if you think that you might benefit from some therapy, you can click the link down in the description below or go to betterhelp.com/oneshotadventures. And now, back to the climb.
Well, we've only been walking for about 15 minutes and we can already see the beach down there, so it's definitely not a half an hour walk. we've been stopping to take videos and things like that, so we haven't been quick at all, and we're already almost there. Okay, we've made it down. And as this sign says, your health is still strong. Thank you.
The trail opens out onto the pristine Lamsala beach, and from there we follow the signs inland towards the main site of this national park.
As I mentioned before, getting to the beach is only halfway. We now have to make another climb to get over to the cave. So, let's do it.
And it didn't take long to run into some of the local wildlife.
I'm really not a fan of monkeys because they're normally quite threatening, steal your stuff. But this guy up here, he's pretty cute. Oh, there's two of them. It's definitely a lot steeper getting up to the cave entrance. The steps themselves are actually really cool. It's like they're carved into these sort of spiky rocks, but it's quite a climb. And it's much busier on this part too. Lots of big groups coming down.
Eventually the climb levels out at a viewpoint and starts to head downwards into the cave system itself, which leads right into the first of the two main caverns.
We are now finally making the climb down into the cave. And not only is it an amazing entrance here, but it's also really, really cool. It's like natural aircon, and it's so much quieter as well. It's like everybody just stopped talking. It's just looking at the views around. So this natural rock that goes over the gap at the top of the cave is known as Death Bridge, because animals often try to cross it and end up falling down into the cave. So that's pretty grim. Imagine that.
We continued our walk through the first cave and into the place that everybody comes here to see, the main limestone theatre, where a spotlight shines down onto one of Thailand's most photogenic spiritual sites, taking centre stage for all to see.
Well, we have now made it to the main event. This is that postcard shot I was talking about at the start of this video, and it really is absolutely stunning. I've never really seen anything like it. This pavilion in the middle, and then the amazing limestone cliffs all around, with just that hole cut out in the top. Amazing.
But as impressive as this temple is, we couldn't hang around for long. So after we grabbed some pictures, we headed back down the rocky steps and onto that pristine shoreline once again, where we paid 200 baht for a ride back around the coast.
And there we go. We are right back where we started. So we're going to get some food, and then we're moving on to our main event of the day, where we're going to try and see those wild elephants in Buri.
There's an estimated 320 gentle giants roaming freely around this parkland, which means spotting them isn't always guaranteed. The park runs its elephant safaris between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m, with the best chances of a sighting happening in the latter stages of the day. Sam Royot was still about an hour's drive from the elephants, and as we tucked into lunch on the beach, the weather suddenly started to change.
Well, this is somewhat of a spanner in the works. The forecast did say rain, but we thought we'd got away with it, but obviously not. The only problem is we need to get to Buri by about 3:30 to get onto one of the elephant safari buses, so it's going to be cutting it a little bit fine if we have to wait here too long.
But after 20 minutes of waiting, it started to ease.
Well, luckily, I think it's stopping just in time, so it's time to get back on the road. Not taking any chances though.
Cautiously, we hit the road once again, turning our journey inland, but we weren't moving for long.
Well, the rain stopped, and it is incredibly beautiful on this drive. Unbelievable leaving the national park, the mountains, and if only we had a bit more time to explore. But we're going to head onwards, find those elephants.
Trying not to get distracted by any more pretty views, we continued our ride towards Buri. Despite the delay, we actually made it over in pretty good time, and right away it was very clear that we were in the right place.
We have made it to the entrance of the Buri National Park. We've just paid for our tickets, and Emma's going to explain the pricing quickly.
Oh, am I?
Because I can't remember what you just said.
Okay, it's 850 for a car.
Yeah.
To take you through the park, and 200 baht per person entrance fee for the national park.
Nice. So we're going to go and find that car now.
We were lucky enough to visit the park during the back end of COVID, so we ended up getting a whole safari truck to ourselves. But in any case, they do limit the trucks to a maximum of 6 people, and each of them comes with a mandatory guide and a driver, obviously. And it's well worth having them tag along too, because they know every inch of this park like the backs of their hands. So they know every possible place where the elephants could be hiding. So almost as soon as we boarded, we started to make our way along the bumpy path into the dense forest of Buri, keeping our eyes peeled for any glimpses of grey within the trees. Now, trying to see animals in the wild like this is always a bit of a gamble. There was a good chance that we could have travelled all the way out here, paid the money, and then not seen any elephants at all. But that day, luck was on our side, and it didn't take long until we saw something very, very special.
We've been going for about 20 minutes. We've got our first sighting. There's a lot of them.
In the next episode, it's finally time to say farewell to my favourite country on earth. So join me for our final week here in Thailand.